Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now.
If you are a regular listener to the Bump and Stacy show, your first thought was, why is Bump doing a snapshot? Why is Bump doing a snapshot? Because Stacy gone, all right? She took her day off.
Yeah.
So we got the dad pod today.
That's right.
We got Michael Bumpus and myself and Curtis Rogers. And why not have it on such a day like this, man? We needed this weekend to happen for us. Needed the Mariners to show us that they are not who they were the previous 6 games, only winning 1 of 5 at their home stand. But listen, they went to Diego and did their thing, Curtis Rogers.
That was a nice little pick-me-up, I got to say. Coming in this morning compared to where we were coming in on Friday, heading into this series against the Padres, a really good Padres team, a team that has played some really impressive ball to start this season. Honestly, Bum, I did not see a sweep coming.
Me either.
In fact, I kind of thought maybe a sweep the other way was a little more likely. And it's not just that they swept the Padres. It's that they just manhandled them. They were not even worried maybe at all at any point in this series, except for maybe like yesterday when the Mariners didn't have a hit until the 4th inning. But even then, they managed to put up 3 runs in that 4th inning and never looked back. It was the best series I think the Mariners have played in 2025.
Speaking of the 4th, this is how things got going. Randy going deep.
King delivers. Swung on, blasted left field. It is hammered. It is on its way. It is in the seats. Randy Arozarena, a solo home run, and he's tied it up against the Padres. A big blast by Randy.
Now, if you look at Randy's numbers, right? His slash, 242, 380. He's slugging, where are you at? It popped up on me. He's slugging 805. Slugging 425, OPS 805. We were talking about Randy and the rest of this team before the show started, and someone we interviewed described it beautifully. They're not a consistent team, but they're a timely team. When you need plays to be made, a guy like Randy steps up and hits a bomb. A guy like Tellez hits up and steps up and hit a bomb. It's just it's been fun to watch this team, even though we had some ups and downs.
It really has, and you mentioned the timeliness of that offense. They then get the 2 runs in the top of the 9th to put a little bit more cushion between them and the Padres. And it wasn't just Sunday where there was timely hitting. You had obviously the Tellez home run. You've got Dylan Moore with a 2-run single in the 9th inning on Saturday night. Cal hit a home run. I mean, it just was every possible spot the Mariners could come through in this weekend. They tended to do so more often than not. And I think that has been a big key for this 2025 Mariners ball club compared to other teams in Mariners history, because they just, for whatever reason, in the season's first 45 games here, Bump, it just feels like when it gets tight, when it gets into those kinds of moments, that this offense has a way of coming through with those big-time hits. And we saw it in the A's series on the road. We've seen it, obviously, in this Padres series on the road. Now, they are a much better team away from T-Mobile Park in terms of offense than they are at home, but still, you look at the collection of players that they have on offense, and it doesn't really, to me, it doesn't look like a team that would be putting up the kinds of offensive numbers that they have, but for whatever reason, they have the 7th best offense in baseball, and a lot of that has to do with how timely this team has been in those moments where you need a 2-run shot, you need a solo shot to get back in the game. They've done it more often than not.
Well, Kyle hit a couple of bombs, right? That's 15 on the year, 1 home run, 15 on the year, second in the majors. We talk about the timeliness of these hits. You got Polanco and Randy with a 50% hard hit rate. Julio swinging at good pitches, 90% of the pitches that are competitive. He is swinging at them, still struggling against the changeup. And then, like you mentioned, you get key contributions like Tellez. And then defensively, I think we don't talk about them enough. You got Rivas making a play out there. Julio's been solid minus a couple of plays as of late in center field, but it's been on point. But Curtis, the thing that surprised me the most about this sweep was just the rotation, right? You had Evans, you had Hancock, you had Wu, and all looked pretty good. Here's what Wu sounded like.
Into the motion. Here's the 1-2. Strike 3 called, freeze him. Upper rung, 94, zipped it by him. Brian Wu, dominant in San Diego. 11 in a row put down, 16 of 17 put away for Brian Wu. A special day in sunny San Diego.
We're watching Wu go to work. His four-seam's been working for him. It hit 97 miles per hour. That sweeper's getting a lot of movement on it. Man, how has this young man impressed you?
He's the ace of the staff right now.
Right.
He is the guy that you want out there every fifth day. When I saw that there was an off day on the calendar heading into this Padres series, I was praying that the Mariners would shift everybody up a day with the off day so that you could see Wu out earlier than you normally would. And sure enough, Sunday, you need the sweep. You get 7 incredible innings from Brian Wu against this Padres offense that has a lot of landmines you got to watch out for, especially starting with Tatis. He does give up the leadoff home run to him, but that was it. That was the only damage San Diego got yesterday, and it did not feel like anything was ever going to spiral out of control with Brian Wu on the mound, and it doesn't feel like that's been the case at all this season. Every start he has made, he's gone at least 6 innings. Now, before this season, that was not usually a stat line that would get people's attention with this Mariners rotation because guys like Logan Gilbert, guys like George Kirby would routinely do that. You know, they would have stretches of their seasons where they'd go 8, 9, 10 starts in a row, have lines looking like Brian Wu. But for this season, it has been just I think it's made you appreciate more what the Mariners have had in years past with their starting rotation, because of performances like what Wu has been able to do, and not just going the 7 strong innings, but also allowing your bullpen to get a breath here or there, allowing the bullpen to not be overworked. We've heard a few people, I think Scott Braun of Foul Territory was on with us last week, said, you know, a mark of not so good teams is a bullpen that's overworked, because that means your starting pitching is not getting deep enough into games. Brian Wu has made sure that this bullpen has gotten the much-needed breathers every 5 days. And it's crazy too, Bump, because before this season, if I had asked you which of the 5 starting pitchers would you be least confident in giving you 6, 7 innings game in and game out, Brian Wu is probably the answer.
Yeah, definitely. This is
Here he is, the most reliable guy in your rotation.
Growing up before our very eyes, and I think that's important. It's a blessing and a curse not having these 2 in, right, as far as Gilbert and Kirby, but it allows Wu to feel some type of pressure, and it feels like he's been stepping up to it. But he's been comfortable on the mound, and here's why he thinks that.
I think it's just if you really love competing, you love, going into environments like that, and you love hostile environments, and it means a lot for the team if you can go in and kind of set the tone and show that, like, hey, we're here, we mean business, and let's get after it from pitch one instead of obviously not today, got whatever first at bat, but to build off of that, whatever, as the game went on, I feel like we got stronger, and just continue to set the tone for the rest of the team and the rest of the game so that they feel like they can go out and just kind of play freely.
I think a big difference, too, this year, why Wu and maybe other guys are more comfortable on the mound, is because they feel like they're going to get some dang run support. Last year, it was like, look, if I give up 2 or 3 runs, we're probably not winning this ball game. But the Mariners have shown that they don't put the ball in play as much as they'd like, but they hit bombs and put the ball out of the park more than most teams in this league. So that has to take some pressure off a young guy like Wu, knowing that, all right, my guys are going to take care of me.
Absolutely. And another thing, too, Bump, that this weekend has kind of made me think about is we talked about it, the 1-5 homestand. Everybody's just kind of feeling a little dreary about this team. The weather's not great this weekend. And people are just, kind of feeling a little bit down after a pretty good month of April for this Mariners team. And then here we are, Monday morning, talking about, all right, you just swept the Padres. You've got 3 against a really bad White Sox team. You've got 7 games left on this road trip. You're off to a 3-0 start already. I mean, now you're looking at, I would be disappointed if this Mariners team loses this series against the White Sox. Because Chicago is really bad. They just got swept this past weekend by the Cubs. So they're not playing good ball at all right now. This kind of changes a little bit about what my expectations are for the road trip, because you're sitting at 26-19. I mean, all of a sudden now you're looking at potentially, a 28-20 record going into Houston, maybe even 29-19. That's 10 games above 500. You're going to be playing some good ball, hopefully, heading into that Houston series. I mean, not trying to overlook the White Sox. It's Major League Baseball. Anybody can win any single night. But I think the Mariners have a lot of momentum coming off of this series, and it just kind of shows how quickly things can change in the month of May. Now, to that point, the Mariners could follow this series up with a clunker as well, because, I mean, there's going to be bad weather in Chicago. No one likes to play in bad weather. It's May. You're still trying to figure out who you are as a team, really, over the course of 162. But I think right now, I really like where this Mariners ball club is, especially in the context of the American League, where, again, we look at the big picture standings. Outside of maybe the Tigers and Yankees, there is not really a third team that I would say is challenging the Mariners right now in terms of, like, just nipping at their heels in the standings. It feels like it's very much the Tigers and Yankees, and maybe even the Mariners you could lump into that conversation.
Well, it's nice to have some type of expectation for this team. You got the White Sox. You're going to the White Sox. You feel like you can take this series as well, maybe even a sweep. And we feel that way because the vibes are good right now. Here's Dan Wilson on the vibes.
Yeah, I mean, they're happy, and they should be. And this is it's a tough team, and to hold them to one run each game, and to put some runs on the board like we were against their guys, it's just a great series, and we'll enjoy it. But we still got a long road ahead of us, and we'll keep looking forward. But this is a good one to start this trip with.
The best part, or one of the best things about this sweep to me, Curtis, was you mentioned it already indirectly, right? Luke's not out there. JP's banged up. Robles still isn't out there in the outfield. Logan isn't there. Kirby isn't there. Right. You just beat a quality team, one of the best teams in the game, and you didn't even have all your dogs.
No, and you're not going to have them for a while now. There's a potential that George Kirby could rejoin this team on the road trip. He was with the team in San Diego, had just made a start in Albuquerque, so it's a pretty short flight from Albuquerque to San Diego. I would assume that he is on the trip in Chicago as well, because there's a chance that he could make his 2025 season debut in Chicago. There's a TBD spot in the rotation right now. We have not heard what one of the projected starters is going to be in this White Sox series, so potentially could be George Kirby there, but it does kind of make you wonder what the ceiling of this Mariners team can be at full health when they are 26-19 right now. And as you said, Bump, they are not close to being at full strength. Now, in baseball, it's rare that you're ever at full strength because everybody goes down at some point during a season. The nicks and bruises pile up. But I think this Mariners team right now, Bump, it is not yet Memorial Day, but I am going to declare they are good.
You're going to go on a limb.
They are a good team.
They are a good team, even though we've seen some downs, but we understand that, man. I want to say the Yankees lost a series to, was it the White Sox? I was looking at their schedule the other day, and I'm like, no, they did not lose a series to that squad. But yeah, even the big dogs go down to some teams not supposed to.
Not to bring up your Dodgers, but they just got swept by the Angels.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a good look.
We call it the freeway series.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, it kind of goes to show like how I don't want to say little you can put into what we see on May 19th, but again, it's so volatile this time of year where a 3-game losing streak can bring you back down to earth.
Yep.
A 3-game win streak can make you feel like you can beat anybody.
Yep. Well, we're coming off a sweep, so all good over here. Let's get to headline rewrites.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Headline rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
All right, first headline, Brock Purdy and the 49ers are in agreement on a 5-year extension worth up to $265 million with $181 million in guarantees and a full no-trade clause. Curtis, what's the real headline?
Real headline, hopefully Mr. Irrelevant is ready to be the most relevant player on that 49ers roster.
How quickly that has changed. It's the most interesting quarterback situation in the league to me because Brock Purdy ain't worth, in my opinion, off of my film study, he's not worth that much outside of the 49ers. No one knows what he can do because he's not that super physically talented person. Could he have success elsewhere? Maybe. Possibly. Not doubting that. But no one else is going to pay him this much money. But the 49ers value him at that. They want him to stay here. I like that. Mr. Irrelevant has to be the most relevant now with the Niners.
I'm surprised the 49ers didn't go the route that I think it was maybe Mike Florio had suggested, where they franchise tag him in 26 and then franchise tag him again in 27, because this is a huge commitment. Not just the $181 million in guarantees, but the full no trade clause.
Yeah.
You're telling me that if things go south, you are stuck with this guy for the duration of his contract. That to me is it is nice to have that belief in your starting quarterback, but I do kind of question the 49ers and their ability to scout the quarterback position, because this is the best the 49ers have had at quarterback under Kyle Shanahan and under John Lynch. But that's not to say that Brock Purdy is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. They've gone from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance to Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
It's not like any of those guys have lit the world on fire. You did make the Super Bowl with both Garoppolo and Brock Purdy, but again, I don't think either one of those quarterbacks were the reason why the 49ers got to the Super Bowl. It was because of their incredible defenses those years.
Here's the funny part about this. Sam Darnold is physically more talented than Brock Purdy to me.
I agree.
But Brock Purdy in the right situation. Sam was there as well at the same time as Purdy, I believe. But this is how contracts work for quarterbacks. All about timing, right fit. Happy for Brock Purdy. Get your money. Hopefully that cripples the roster and they got to go shopping at the clearance rack.
Headline rewrites.
The Nuggets were eliminated by OKC in Game 7. It'll be the Timberwolves and the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. What's the real headline?
Real headline, as we longtime Timberwolves fans since yesterday like to say, go T-Wolves.
Hey, go T-Wolves all day. Anthony Edwards.
Let's go.
Rudy Gobert.
Let's go.
Let's get this game. Julius Randle. Right, this has been fun.
Jaden McDaniels, local kid.
Hey, we know all these guys, man. We know the roster up and down. This is what we do. We've been cheering on the Timberwolves all year. But I like this Western Conference Finals because it's new blood. I know we don't like OKC on these parts. I get it.
Not at all.
But SJ is a good player. You got Williams over there who's a good player. Anthony Edwards who's a good player. I just like the mix-up. Even though I would love for my Lakers to be in the mix, we did not deserve it. But to see just 2 new faces in the Western Conference Finals, same thing with the East. I mean, the East has some new names as well. This is good for the NBA.
Yeah, none of these teams have won a title since 1973. I'm not counting 1979, which is won by the Sonics. That is ours. That is not OKC. So since 73, none of these teams have won a title. I think the Pacers have only won the ABA championship, and that predates their time in the NBA. I like the new blood. I'm hoping that we get a Timberwolves-Knicks final. I think that would be pretty incredible in terms of the drama and the recent history between those two teams, especially with them swinging that huge trade in the offseason that sent Randall to the Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks. I think Anthony Edwards, he has that dog in him, and I think more so than any player on that OKC roster. I get that SGA is probably going to be MVP right now, but I just don't look at him right now as a killer. I don't look at him as somebody that is going to be out for blood the way that Anthony Edwards has really approached his game in the playoffs, especially. I remember last year him taking, in Denver. They were down 20 in Game 7 and came back to win that one. He swept the Phoenix Suns last year. Like, Anthony Edwards, to me, he's an old school throwback type player that I think people who maybe haven't watched the NBA in a while and are kind of like, oh, everybody's just friends with everybody. That's not the kind of player that Anthony Edwards is.
Not him. There's only a few left, like Brooks. Anthony Edwards is that way, and maybe a few others. And it's refreshing to see someone attack the ops like Anthony Edwards has. He's got that dog in him. SGA, good player, but there's something different about Anthony Edwards.
Headline rewrites.
a year after he was arrested at the PGA Championship. Scottie Scheffler won the 2025 title with a 5-shot victory. What's the real headline?
Real headline, he also turned bail money into prize money.
Hey, that's how you flip that. All right? That's how you do it right there. Scottie Scheffler, if you guys don't remember, trying to get into one of his rounds last year at this tournament. There was something going on. Security was beefed up. He drives by security. A cop holds on to his car. He's like, look, I'm just trying to get to work. The cops weren't too friendly. How do you not know the #1 golfer in the world at a golf tournament? There should be some type of profile going on there. But no, but then he comes back and he still played some good golf last year. And this year he wins the PGA Championship. I'm happy for Scottie, only 28 years of age. So he's got a long career ahead of him.
I saw somebody refer to him as like the Tim Duncan of golf,
I like
where
that.
just
Yeah.
no nonsense, just kind of a boring guy, but he goes out there and wins, and he's just very, very businesslike in his approach. I think that's a good comparison.
Yeah,
I mean,
like that.
Gosh, 5-shot victory in a major, that's a blowout.
Yeah.
That is running away with it.
And he just shot even par. So that's how hard it was that last day. I'm looking at these guys try to hit out the rough. I mean, if you guys, for golfers out there, 100-yard shot in the fairway, you're probably using your 60-degree. These guys got pitching wedges and 9-irons because the rough is so thick. It really makes me realize how bad at golf I am when I watch these guys do their thing. Like, it's stupid. It is stupid. All right, man, we got a great show coming up for you guys, man. At 11, we got ESPN's David Schoenfield joining us. At 12, we're going to do some football with NBC West reporter Eric Williams. This is the Dad Pod today. Stacy is out. She will be back tomorrow. But coming up, man, every NFL team is looking for their guy at the QB spot. But what's the better path for paying your starting quarterback? Curtis and I will let you know next right here on the Bump and Stacy Show.
Only Brock and Salk in Seattle sports go one-on-one with Raiders head coach Pete Carroll. Dude, that still sounds so weird. Are you kidding me?
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
What's happening, fellas? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. It's been a while. How
I
are you?
bet. I get it. Yeah. You haven't called me once. What are you talking about? Doing great. We're having a blast. The energy around this building is really familiar and really fun.
The whole conversation's on video. Watch it on YouTube or the Seattle Sports app.
Upgrade your home cooling before the summer heat with Home Comfort Alliance and save up to $6,000 while taking 18 months to pay with 0 interest. Visit HomeComfortAlliance.com. That's HomeComfortAlliance.com.
Lake Washington Windows and Doors makes it easy to enjoy new windows with clean glass technology now and defer paying for them until 2026 with 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 12 months. Visit LakeWashingtonWindows.com.
The team at Mazda of Everett is always working hard to make your experience with their team exceptional. Mazda of Everett has over 700 new Mazdas in stock, tariff-free. It's the perfect time to buy a new Mazda. Visit our friends at Mazda of Everett on Highway 99 in Everett or shop online at MazdaofEverett.com. Click the Mazda of Everett price where pre-tariff pricing still applies. Shop their tariff-free selection at Mazda of Everett.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home for you so you attract the right buyers. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot doot, and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161. Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
Dave Wyman joined by the mayor of the city of Lacey, Andy Ryder. Andy recently underwent successful treatment for prostate cancer. His treatment method? Swedish CyberKnife. Andy, what would you say to anyone considering prostate cancer treatment?
I'm feeling very confident about my treatment with CyberKnife. I absolutely recommend it for anyone who has been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Reach out to Swedish CyberKnife directly at swedish.org/CyberKnifeProstate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish CyberKnife.
Hope springs eternal during the start of the season, but unfortunately, so do spring allergies. Hey, it's Dr. Ryan Stern of the Stern Sinus Center. Rhine Air is a simple, non-invasive procedure that significantly reduces your postnasal drip and stuffiness. We're proud this year the Stern Sinus Center was just named a nationwide center of excellence. We're also excited to welcome another allergy surgeon and ear surgeon to our practice. Schedule your appointment in Auburn or Federal Way or go to sternsinus.com.
You've heard the saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Since 1926, my family's been helping local businesses make great first, second, and long-term impressions. We know how to make your company look good with quality uniforms, logoed apparel, floor mats, linens, and more. If you're paying for linen service or doing it yourself, let's have the conversation. The information and quote are free, but the savings and service can really add up. Visit suplinen.com. Superior Linen Service. It's what we do.
Celebrate 50 seasons of Seahawks football at Lumen Field and take your game day to the next level with premium hospitality and incredible views. Host a one-of-a-kind event in a private game day suite or get front row access with sideline and end zone field seats. For more on how to elevate your game day at Lumen Field, visit Seahawks.com/premium.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Almost every team in the NFL is constantly on the hunt to find their quarterback. Even if they have a guy who signed a short deal and it's good enough to win some ball games, they're looking for their guy. And once you find that guy, eventually you're going to have to pay that guy. Even if the contract doesn't match up to what you think he is worth, that is just how the NFL works. So here we're going to talk about just what's the better path to paying your starting quarterback, right? We got two situations we're going to analyze, Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy. Before we do that, here's Dan Graziano.
Remember Jalen Hurts a couple years ago? They wanted it done before OTAs started. And I think that this reflects that. If you're Brock Purdy, could you have maybe got more by waiting? Of course, you always can. But I think he wanted it out of the way and the decks cleared for the offseason. And certainly when you think about where he comes from, being the last pick in the draft, it's a lot more money than I think on that day anybody would have ever forecasted he made in the NFL.
This might be the biggest come up in NFL history. Mr. Irrelevant is getting paid $53 million a year, 18.9% of San Francisco's 2025 salary cap. The biggest come up, and I don't know the numbers, but just situation alone, Brock Purdy got himself a bag. And like Dan talked about, he could have waited. He could have pushed it and maybe asked for 55 to 60, which would have been crazy if he got that. But he wanted to get this deal done. So what's the better path for paying your quarterback? Do you go the Brock Purdy route to where you lock him down, even if you feel like he's not worth the $53 million a year, Or do you do what the Seahawks did? You get a guy who's coming off a good season, who has potential. You pay him $33.5 million a year, 12% of your salary cap, and you say, let's see. Because I'm still with Brock Purdy. I know he's a good NFL quarterback, but I don't know if he's a quarterback that wins a Super Bowl for you.
I'm right there with you, Bump, because the worst thing you can do in the NFL is commit to a quarterback that may not necessarily be the kind of quarterback that will get you to a Super Bowl, and go all in on these guys that are good but maybe not great. You look at some of the highest paid quarterbacks in the game, and it's littered with a lot of those guys.
Yep.
It's littered with Trevor Lawrence. It's guys that are just not necessarily people I would consider to be elite quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, I think, is a good quarterback, but is not somebody that I would say is a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. Now, you've got Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. Those two, I would say, are very much in the elite category. But Jordan Love, not there yet. I think he's still a few years away from maybe entering that conversation, or at least getting closer to that. Tua, $53 million. I wouldn't say that about him as an elite quarterback. Justin Herbert hasn't really played on many good Chargers teams. I think the Chargers are trending up, though, in terms of getting enough talent around him. But again, still wouldn't consider him to be an elite quarterback right now. Lamar Jackson, $52 million. Yes, I'd put him in that category. But Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Geno, Matt Stafford, it's just a lot of okay to good, potentially really good quarterbacks, but none of them strike me as great. None of them strike me as franchise guys. And maybe that's because there's just so few franchise guys in the NFL right now. When you look outside of the top four of Mahomes, Jackson, Burrow, and Allen, like, how many of these guys would you be willing to commit to? And I look at the path the Seahawks have taken over the last few years. I will say that they definitely have learned from what they did under Russell Wilson, where they just continually made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL a couple of times in the extensions that they handed out to him. But it did get to a point where it was like, what you are going to make is not going to be reflective in the production that you have. And the Seahawks, credit to them, credit to John Schneider, and credit to Pete Carroll, who was head coach at the time, for them knowing that Russ's production was going to slip and they were not going to be they weren't going to be saddled with the contract that he was playing on. I think that was a good move made by the Seahawks. When you look at Purdy and what Darnold is making right now, you mentioned it earlier, Bump. Darnold has the better physical traits than Brock Purdy does. Now, Purdy's decision-making, I think, is a lot better than Darnold's, and his poise is a lot better than Darnold's, but I look at the Brock Purdy contract, Bump, and I'm very thankful that it's the 49ers paying that bill and not a team like the Seahawks, who, have done I think a really admirable job of not going all in on somebody they don't feel like is that franchise guy.
The only thing that Purdy has on guys so we'll lump them all in together. If you're getting paid $50 to $55 million a year, we're lumping these guys all in. The only thing he has on Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Tua, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, even Lamar Jackson, is that he has been to a Super Bowl. That's about it. Some of these guys, a lot of these guys have been to the conference championship game, but have failed. I'm talking about guys like Lamar Jackson and obviously Jared Goff. The thing he has on them is that when he sits down with his agent, he's going to say, look, man, I've taken you to conference championship games. I've taken you to the Super Bowl. Just a throw here or a tackle there, or maybe a non-injury here. We might have a ring already. So he's supposed to go to the table and throw everything else out there. Look, I'm one of the more accurate quarterbacks when I'm healthy. I know this offense. Do you want to start over with someone else? And he has all the leverage in the game. And we've said this plenty of times. The position that will get overpaid every single year is the quarterback spot.
Yep.
That's how hard it is to find a quarterback. Brock Purdy is more valuable to the Niners than he is to the league. Therefore, they want to keep him because they think they still got a window. You still got George over there. You still got Ayuk. I think Jawan Jennings is going to be good. You still have Fred Warner there. You have Super Bowl pieces over there. but you also lost a bunch because you got to pay guys. Debo's gone, Hufunga's gone. So they looked at the quarterback position and it was almost like they were desperate, and not at the same time, because they know Brock Purdy can run their stuff, but they're looking across the league and saying, all right, well, what are we supposed to do? We're not going to draft high to get a quarterback. We got to pay this dude.
Yeah, and they were put in a position where it's like, well, we can't do any better than Brock Purdy right now based off of who's available on the open market and based off of where the 49ers probably expect to be drafting next year. I don't think they plan to be at the top of the draft.
Right.
Based off of, just kind of how they've had a lot of recent success. But, I mean, you have had a 49ers team that has been blessed in this run to have not had to pay a ton of money to quarterbacks specifically, and they've been able to round out their roster in other ways. Now, they've swung and missed at quarterbacks for sure. Trey Lance comes to mind when they went and picked him number 3 overall, traded away, 3 first-round picks for him. And then were bailed out completely by having Brock Purdy fall to them in the 7th round, the very final pick of the draft. I mean, that's one of the great pull in case of emergency draft picks ever made in NFL history, because we don't remember Trey Lance being such a big bust. And then because of what Purdy has been able to do in San Francisco, I look back at past salary cap numbers now. In 2018, the 49ers did have the highest cap number go to a quarterback in the NFL, and that was Jimmy Garoppolo, and it was the highest cap number by a significant margin. It was by about $11 million that year. Garoppolo's cap number was $37 million. But then in 2019, the year they did go to the Super Bowl, Garoppolo's cap number fell all the way down to $20 million, and then in 2020, it was $26 million. So it wasn't necessarily a cap number that was hamstringing them in terms of their ability to add. This contract that Brock Purdy has signed, Bump, I mean, you look at the percentage of cap that it's taking up nearly 19% of the cap, which is around that area where it's kind of like, unless you're Patrick Mahomes, unless you're one of those elite guys, that kind of cap percentage can really hamstring a team.
Yeah, that cap percentage is supposed to mean that your quarterback is capable of winning 4 games on his own. With no defense, with drop balls, with fumbles and turnovers, he's supposed to be capable of doing that. I want to make a correction. Jared Goff did go to the Super Bowl with the Rams, so let me exclude him from that conversation of what Brock Purdy has on him, but he has been there more recently, so I guess that plays a big role into it as well. But, yeah, you start hitting 20% of your cap that you're giving up to your quarterback, that quarterback is going to be expected to win you a game in the playoffs and have a couple of drives, either playoffs or regular season, to where he looks like one of the best in the game.
He does. And you mentioned quarterbacks getting overpaid and overdrafted. The overdrafting one is interesting, too, because we saw Cam Ward go number 1 overall this past April, and a lot of draft experts said that if he was in the 2024 draft, he probably would have gotten taken after Bo Nix and probably would have been like the 7th quarterback off the board, potentially still a first rounder. But based off of just the need for quarterbacks, the need for quality quarterback play in the NFL, it gets guys overpaid and overdrafted. And the Seahawks have been able to avoid overdrafting quarterbacks this whole time that John Schneider has been the GM. Jalen Milroe, a lot of people were kind of like, is this guy going in the first round? Because he accepted that green room invite. Remember, he was there first night of the draft, sitting in the green room in Green Bay, and
Told
people
him
were
not to
like,
do it.
right, and people were like, are the Seahawks about to do this? Are they about to take a quarterback in the first round? Because a lot of people knew that the Seahawks had a lot of interest in Milroe, and credit to them to be able to wait it out till pick 92 for Milroe to fall to them and say, okay, now we are in a spot where we're comfortable taking a quarterback. I bet it was tempting to take Milroe in that second round, especially at pick 52, where Arroyo was taken. I bet is tempting to be like, okay, we've got a quarterback that we really like on the board. It's not a first-round pick, and we already used another second-rounder. I just think the way the Seahawks have kind of handled life post-Russell Wilson, it has allowed them to round out this roster to, I think, when they are eventually ready to commit to a quarterback, it's going to make things a lot better for them rather than finding that quarterback and then hoping to build the roster around them, and then they end up having to pay a quarterback a second contract before the roster is really put in motion.
Yeah, they've been patient. And with Sam Darnold, they have an out when it comes to his second year. And then if he plays out the contract, he's making $37 million a year instead of paying a guy like Brock Purdy $50 million plus. But look, it might work out for the Niners. He might be the guy. They go to a Super Bowl and all as well, but it's a gamble, any way you put it. The profile of the Mariners coming into the 2025 season was that it's all about who's on the mound. But for now, things have changed a little bit. But when it's time to make a push, we all know the arms will have to be elite. So what does quality starting pitching do for the ceilings of the Mariners? We'll let you know next.
Wyman and Bob, afternoons 2 to 7.
The release of the Seahawks schedule, you open at home with the Niners, you close the season on the road with the Niners.
You know what's interesting about that is just that where's San Francisco going to be? I'm just curious. They're going to be able to be that team that kind of has dominated. Those 2 games I think are going to be really interesting just to see where the Seahawks are. I think this year the tougher challenge might be the Rams.
Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton, afternoons 2 to 7 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rureka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com.
We at Three Tree Roofing understand that your home is your castle. That's why our certified technicians use state-of-the-art installation methods to deliver the highest warranties available. Check out our hundreds of online reviews and schedule a free estimate to see for yourself. Three Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
We've all been there, sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
You think your home is pretty cool until that summer heat hits, and suddenly your home isn't that cool. In fact, it's hot. Air conditioning from Washington Energy Services can help. Stay cool this summer with our biggest spring savings event ever. This month only, take up to $2,500 off an energy-efficient brine cooling system with exclusive Washington Energy rebates. Ensure your home is always the cool house with air conditioning from Washington Energy Services. Contact us today for a free estimate.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs.
Picking up! Oscar! This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
You're free now. Free to stream beyond your wildest dreams.
Rom-coms, slasher-coms, space operas.
Free to fill your feed with impossibly chonky chonkers.
Cats, corgis, babies on demand.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things.
Bowl of chips on the Robo-Vacuum.
Free to open a world of remote work and Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber Internet. Your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com.
Limited availability, service in select locations only.
4 down territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bump and Stacy.
Well, here in our region, it's really common for homes to have damaged insulation or even no insulation at all in their crawl space or attic. Well, in the winter, that'll make your home cold and drafty. And in the summer months, it can turn your home into an oven. It's Mike Salk here, and utility companies have special incentives right now to help with the cost of having your home properly insulated, including a once-in-a-lifetime rebate from Puget Sound Energy. So if you're a PSE customer and your home was built before 1990, you could qualify to receive a rebate on up to 95% of the cost to properly insulate your crawl space and attic. Yes, they will cover up to 95% of the cost. And if you're anything like me, you love the idea of somebody else paying to improve your home, add value to it, and save you money along the way. How good does that sound? Don't wait. Call Crawl Pros to learn what's going on behind that crawl space and attic hatch for free, and then what energy rebates you're eligible for. If you're worried about critters, mold, water damage, insulation issues, or anything else related to your crawl space or attic, schedule a free corner-to-corner inspection at crawlpros.com.
Ladies, and you guys too, have you noticed visible signs of aging, those deep wrinkles, fine lines, and facial creases stealing your youthful glow? Sagging skin, crow's feet, and loss of facial contour are all natural effects of aging, but you no longer have to let them define your appearance. Introducing the New Skin Lift, the groundbreaking facelift led by Dr. Brian Scott. The advanced New Skin Lift addresses key signs of facial aging for women and men, restoring natural youthful contours. Whether it's replenishing volume lost over time or lifting the skin to smooth out those creases, the New Skin Lift can help you look 10 to 20 years younger with both surgical and non-surgical options. It's Hollywood's best-kept secret and now available to you. Get a free consultation and save $250 off your New Skin facelift. Schedule at newskinlift.com or 206-222-1225. Look 10 to 20 years younger and restore your youthful appearance with the New Skin facelift. newskinlift.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
When you think about the Mariners, at least, 4 or 5 months ago, you're thinking, man, this rotation is going to be on point. You got Gilbert, Castillo, you got Wu, you got Miller. What am I missing? Kirby. And then the bullpen, you got Brash over there. It'd be the in-between guy before you get to Munoz. But this season's been a bit different, man. When it comes to average, all right, they're 21st in the league. We'll talk about the Mariners offensively. On base, they're 10th. Comes to slugging, they're 10th. OPS, they're 10th. This is a good offensive baseball team up to this point, but as good as they are offensively, I keep looking at the arms and saying, if these guys can perform at a high level, get some quality starts, have some dominant performances, who knows what this team can do. So if the pitching were to turn around, if we were to see something similar to what we saw last year with the group as it is today, Curtis, what are we seeing? What are we expecting?
I think you're seeing a team that should win the American League West. If the pitching gets back to even maybe like 80% of what it was a year ago, you're looking at a team that should definitely be right in the conversation among the American League's best teams. And it's funny because we all looked at this team in the offseason and it was like, they didn't really do anything. They just were like, all right, we're running it back with the same team that we had a year ago. And everybody's kind of like, are we sure about that? Are you sure this is the route you want to go? And by and large, the Mariners have put out a much better product here in 2025 than they did last year in 2024. Now, they've been able to do it without consistent starting pitching, without consistently good starting pitching. But what we saw in this series, 3 straight games where they allowed just 1 run, Emerson Hancock, Logan Evans, Brian Wu. Only Brian Wu, I think, is a guy that you would Sharpie in as a guy pitching big innings at the end of this season for this team if everybody's healthy. I don't necessarily see Hancock or Logan Evans among that group of guys who are probably going to lead this pitching staff in a pennant chase. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. But they're giving you good innings right now and doing what you're asking of guys who are kind of at the back end of your rotation or guys that you want to bring up from AAA and say, hey, we need a couple of starts from you. Can you give us 5? Can you give us 6? They both have been pitching admirably over the last month or so. You get Kirby back soon. It sounds like potentially on this road trip, maybe even as soon as this White Sox series, which starts today. You're looking at maybe game 3 for Kirby this week. But I'm looking at this Mariners team bump, and the one thing that they are missing above everything else right now is that starting pitching. And you're getting Kirby back soon. You're potentially getting Gilbert back. You're probably getting Bryce Miller back. Who knows what Bryce Miller's going to look like when he comes back, but it does kind of make you look at this Mariners team and you kind of wonder, like, okay, like, we have yet to see this team have a functional offense in addition to a great pitching staff. We've never seen it at the same time. Potentially here, we could end up seeing that in 2025.
That's what I love about this team is they're finding ways to win ball games. We've seen the close ones, we saw the blowouts, and we've seen vice versa when it comes to them being on the losing end. But like you mentioned, you haven't had the band together yet. You haven't had the whole squad out there consistently. And this pitching staff has done decent, right? There were times that we were worried about that bullpen. Then what happened? Vargas shows up out of nowhere and looks like he's the guy. Munoz still has a 0 ERA. Am I correct on that? Munoz still 0.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Munoz is doing his thing. And then Emerson Hancock is able to bounce back from our horrible start this year. They send him down, bring him back up, and he's looking good. So we're getting some reps for these young guys, which I love. Emerson and Logan Evans, they're getting their reps. But when it's all said and done, they know when guys are healthy, they're going to be sitting back down. So what that does for me, for my mind when it comes to this team, because arms get hurt, it's inevitable. If you do have to dip back into the talent pool, which is the minors, you know you have some guys who've been there who can done that. Also, it's about the bats too, man. I mean, if Kyle wasn't who he is this year, if Polanco wasn't who he is this year, like we've seen a year like this from Cal. But if Polanco isn't that guy, if Tellez doesn't have his moments, and if Julio doesn't slowly ascend, I know it doesn't look impressive, it doesn't wow you, but he is ascending right now. If those things don't happen, the pressure that you put on Emerson and Logan is even greater, and who knows if they're able to handle that and kind of perform the way they've been performing.
Yeah, and boy, it's weird to think about where this Mariners team would be without the offense doing what it has done this season, because as we know, the pitching is what carried the Mariners in 24. It's what carried them in 23. The offense was nowhere near what it was or nowhere near what it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And to think about just, I mean, you look at like a team like the Orioles right now, 15-30 right now. I'm not saying that it would be maybe that concerning if the Mariners offense wasn't doing what it's doing right now, but I feel like it's safe to say they would not be in first place in the American League without this offense and what it's been doing. So credit to the offense for having the pitching staffs back. I'm looking at this pitching staff right now and saying, give me just a fraction of what you were a year ago, and this team I think could really make some noise, especially as we're heading towards the midway point of the season. That's where you have a better idea of what your team is over the course of 162. So I say get me some healthy starting pitching, and you're going to look at a team that could really, really grab the attention of a lot of people.
Offensively, they've taken some pressure off your starting pitching staff. And defensively as well, only 19 errors, 7th best in the game. 9.989 fielding percentage, 6th best in the game. That's something we've seen over the past few years, though. Defensively, they are typically solid. So you can sprinkle in some offense, you get some health on the mounds. Who knows where this team is going? More baseball talk is coming your way. We'll be joined by ESPN's David Schoenfield to talk about the Mariners and more. That's coming up next after the break.
Only Brock and Salk in Seattle sports go one-on-one with Raiders head coach Pete Carroll. Dude, that still sounds so weird.
Are you kidding me?
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
What's happening, fellas? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. It's been a while. How
I
are you?
bet. I get it. Yeah. You haven't called me once. What are you talking about? Doing great. We're having a blast. The energy around this building is really familiar and really fun.
The whole conversation's on video. Watch it on YouTube or the Seattle Sports app.
LeeJohnson.com is a dynamic research tool.
We want to give the customer enough information to where they don't